this whole thing is about people. Everything that we do is about people here at Easter Seals. And that's why we want you to meet Shannon. Shannon is someone who it's a remarkable story, really, because Shannon was a high school student, ended up having a car accident, suffered traumatic head injuries, but is bouncing back thanks to Goodwill Easter Seals and thanks to you. Here's Shannon's story. You may not think about going to work as an accomplishment, but there was a time in Shannon Hilbert's life that just the idea of going to work was too far-fetched to even think about. Life didn't start out that way, though. A car accident in 1984 changed her from a vibrant teenager into a head injury victim deep in a coma.
She basically came back from borderline dead, you know, because they told me she'd probably never wake up. Couldn't walk, couldn't talk, couldn't get the words out. You know, I knew what I was going to say, but I couldn't talk.
Even as Shannon came out of the coma and began to write short notes to her mother, the situation overwhelmed her. But the odds didn't stand a chance against Shannon's bubbly personality and her determination. Shannon graduated from high school and tried college. But like many people with head injuries, she needed some extra help.
It was real hard because Shannon was in big denial that there was anything wrong.
That's where the Gateway Project came in.
Like flipping on a switch. They have turned on my life.
It gave Shannon a job coach and taught her the skills she needed, plus helped her handle her short-term memory loss. But best of all, it led to her job.
I am so much more involved. I'm so much more thankful. You know, I can help someone else.
Now, she's not just an employee, but an award-winning one. And Shannon says it's just the first step of a long trip she has planned, thanks to her attitude and Goodwill Easter Seals. And that road lease for this evening has brought Shannon here to the telephone. Welcome.
Thank you. Welcome, too.
Well, I appreciate that. We've been talking to each other behind the scenes a little bit because we became buds this week.
Yes, Kim has done a great job.
Hey, you're the one who's done the job.
Yeah.
Tell the folks out there, though, because folks, that's probably the first chance they've gotten to see your story. What has Easter Seals done for you?
Going through the program has given me a new lease on life. All the support and encouragement that Gateway and Goodwill has given me has been terrific. My job coach has just offered me all the support that I need when I'm doing my job. You know, if I have a question, I can ask her, and she can tell me, you know, the most appropriate thing to do.
Well, that's great. Mom, where would you guys be if Shannon hadn't gotten in the Gateway Project? Where would your lives be?
Well, Shannon just went through a lot of depression when she just, you know, didn't really feel like she had any purpose in life. So it's real fun now to watch her get up and get ready for work, and she smiles when she goes in, and she smiles when she comes home, you know, and it's great.
It was just saw. She smiles while she's there, too. You made a lot of friends while you're at work.
Yeah.
What's the one thing you'd want to have people tell to get the phones ringing?
Well, you never know. It'll happen to you sometime, you know.
All right. Hey, folks, can't say it any better than that. How Shannon describes what Easter Seals has done for her. She was here. She has told me many, many times she wants more folks out there who are in her situation to get the kind of help she did. That's only possible, though, if you will help them. Please, help flip on the light in someone else's life who is just like Shannon. Pick up the phone right now. Make your contribution of $15, $20, $25. Join our 52 Club. Please, whatever you can give, pick up the phone right now and make your contribution. You can flip on the light in someone else's life. It may look pretty dark right now. Corey?
There are a lot of Shannons out there, and that's where your money will go, to help somebody like Shannon, so you know it's going to good use. How many times do you spend $50 and know exactly what's going to happen with it, and that somebody will benefit from it? And
part of Goodwill Easter Seals, and also our telethon chairman.
Good morning.
Good morning. You're up and bright and early. You were
Right.
with us last night. Tell us why people should give to Goodwill Easter Seals.
Well, Goodwill Easter Seals is a people thing. It's people who need help, and it's people who want to help, and it gives them an opportunity to get together. most of us can't do something directly for the kind of people who do need our assistance, those with a traumatic brain injury, for instance, that we saw a few minutes ago. But by joining the $1 a week club or that kind of thing, it can be done, and it gives us the opportunity to do that.
We don't show a lot of pretty pictures in this telethon. In fact, some of the things we show are difficult to look at. But when you hear the stories of these people and how much they want to get back to work and how much they just want that little extra help, it really makes it worthwhile, doesn't it?
It's hard to talk about this from an economic standpoint, but it makes great sense because the people who are helped are ones who would otherwise be perhaps getting government assistance or who would require some kind of tax-supported help. They become fully self-supporting in many cases. So it not only makes economic sense, but it's a wonderful thing to see people return to some self-esteem.
It's awful inspiring. That's what they talk about. Everybody that we've met talks about the self-esteem, and they want to get back to work and how good it makes them feel.
They do. They work very hard at it. It's a very touching thing to see, and it is a wonderful thing when people get together and help, as our volunteers are doing or those who call in do.
Long ways. It is this young woman here, Shannon Hilbert. We talked about her last night. You're back again today, and you are raring to go.
Oh, yes, I am really raring.
The wonderful thing about this is a lot of times we'll have clients that will help do some fundraising or get involved. You have taken this thing and gone further than I think just about anybody else I have seen. Shannon has her own VIP section here, and I mean, you have done some fantastic stuff.
Yeah, I have. and I'll do it next year, too.
Well, that's great. Now,
Yeah.
you've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, it looks like about at least 6 or 7 of your friends.
9.
9 of them
Yes.
here. Okay.
Well, 8.
Uh-huh. Well, that is great. And you've got folks that, did you have any trouble getting folks?
No. No. All my friends just said, sure, we'll do this for you.
Well, that's great. What would you want to tell folks out there to why they should call in? What has Easter Seals done for you?
Easter Seals has made me happy. You know, each day I get up, I look forward to going to work, and, you know, they just have made me happy. And that's, you know, a person should live their life, if they're not happy.
I'll tell you what, that is a sales pitch if I ever heard one. Shannon right here has come so far, but she has only been able to do that because of your contributions. She is the reason that we are asking you to pick up the phone and dial 838-1100 or 1-800-765-5412. There are plenty of success stories out there just like Shannon's that are waiting to be told, and you were telling me you want some other folks out there who are in the situation that you were in to know what's available.
Oh, yes, yeah. I just want to just grab all the people, you know, and take care of them and say, well, there is hope at the end. You know, there's light at the end of the tunnel, and it's just wonderful.
Well, that is great. Folks, pick up the phone. This is the reason we're doing this. Come on. If this isn't a success story, I don't know what is. Boy, I'll tell you what, we're ready to go.
We're going to get things rolling right now with a match, which means Friends of Shannon, as you see on the button here, Friends of Easter Seals Goodwill are going to get things going. Gives them the opportunity to go out and earn a living and become independent. And Tim Drennan from Toys R Us is...
You know it's going to a good cause, and right now you can double what you send in.
Oh, and it was so inspiring. And this segment is special because these are all friends of Shannon, and I have one with me here right now. Hi, sir. What's your name?
I'm Bob Wynn. I'm a friend of Shannon's.
And how do you know Shannon?
I know Shannon through the Head Injury Association.
Okay, and you've raised money before you came in today. Do you want to tell us how much you raised?
Yes, I've already raised a few $100s.
That is great. Do you want to name some of the people that made pledges today?
Well, I'd like to thank Vera and Max Clem.
We're not going to get done what we need to get done, Trace.
Absolutely. Kim, I'm over here in the VIP section again, and I believe I'm going to talk to Miriam Hilbert. Hi, you are Shannon's mother.
Yes, I am, and proud of it.
You're doggone. We're proud of her, too. Tell us how much money you raised today.
So far, I've got about $500. Well, not just today, but in pledges before we came.
Well, that is wonderful. And why is it important to do that?
Oh, it's just so important to help all these kids out there that need help. I mean, it's just made all the difference in the world in Shannon's life, securing this job at Coke Industries, and she just, you know, she's just a different person.
Okay.
She feels worthwhile, and she has a purpose in life, you know.
You bet. Okay.
It's great.
Thank you very much. Well, we appreciate you being here today. And, folks, it's so important.
Tracy's over there talking to Shannon. Let me tell you that Friends of Shannon not only are on the VIP panel over there, but they're calling the phone bank behind us. We've heard from an uncle of Shannon's, a cousin, I think. and they can't reach her because her phone's busy, but they're calling in and making their donations. And all of us can be friends of Shannon and friends of Goodwill Easter Seals by calling 838-1100. Back over to you, Tracy.
Well, Cindy, we have a special man over here. Steve, stand up for just a second. He is the coach of the South High undefeated champions, and you're a friend of Shannon. You're going to have to lean over a little bit because my microphone won't stretch that far. Tell us how you know Shannon.
Well, Shannon was a student at South High School, and I was her adaptive teacher at South High, and she's just a special person. She smiled all the time. She came back and rehabilitated, and we're at
Shannon Hilbert, who is our graduate of the year. And as I was just saying to the president, Shannon is one of the 23,000 people that we put into competitive employment in 1992. She was selected against some very good candidates. She was brain injured as a teenager. She was susceptible to rehabilitation at St.Joseph's Hospital in Wichita. She attempted to go to college, was unable to do it, and came into the Goodwill Industries Gateway Training Program in Wichita, and she's now employed full-time as a correspondence manager in a very large, privately owned company in that city. She's an example of what happens when you get rehabilitation right after the injury, involved in a good health care program. We take advantage of the public school system and then integrate that into vocational rehabilitation as it's done in the private sector. She's an example of what we can do with disabled Americans and what we can do about creating jobs, Mr. President. We pledged that we're going to put 30,000 people to work this year, and we're growing, and we're dedicated to many of the same projects that work good for you. And your mother is here.
Yes, Miriam.
And your congressman.
And Marie Martin, president of Goodwill.
And your
Faye Lyle, our rehab nurse from St.Joseph Medical Center. And Marianne Nash, my liaison, spent on a great vacation. And boy, I'm asked her and she's doing next year too.
She's done a pretty good job this year, hasn't she?
Honestly.
This young woman was severely injured and was in a coma for a long time. And, a lot of people would not have done what she's done. She's a very brave person. She's come back and had a great life. And I want to thank all the people who helped you.
Well, you're a friend of she.
I'm an FOS, see? She brought me a button.
We know as walkers, joggers have to have good sweatshirts. So we brought you, of course, we got the plug in the back of the logo, but this says Goodwill Industries #1 volunteer.
Thank you.
And we want you to do that. We understand the value of volunteers and how you're working on that, so that's why we brought you that sweatshirt.
This is great. Thank you all.
Has your health care program slipped into June?
No. I mean, what do you mean slipped into June?
The announcement of it?
I don't know when we're going to announce it. We haven't decided exactly, but we're working on it, and we're certainly, the most important thing is we're going to finish outlining the details on time, then we're going to enter one more round of extensive consultations. When we come forward with it depends in part on how we're doing with the consultations. You know, I had a lunch today with leading Republican senators and members of Congress. We'll just see what happens. But the critical thing is we want to introduce it and reveal it in time to make sure it is considered this year. The American people need health security. We need to control the cost of the health care system. We need to be able to guarantee that the American people are not going to lose their health coverage. Some misfortune befalls them, and we're going to give the American people that kind of plan. It'll be exciting, and it'll be dealt with this year.
You want to make sure it doesn't get caught up in reconciliation?
Well, I think it's going to be caught up to some extent in it regardless, but I think there is a limit to, I don't think Congress can consider it until they consider the reconciliation. The real issue is, it's really almost a technical one. It is, at what point in the calendar must a bill be introduced in order to go through all the processes to be considered and voted on by the end of the year? No one thinks it'll be considered at the time reconciliation is. The only question is, how quickly do we have to get it in so that it could actually be voted on if we can persuade the Congress to vote on it in this calendar year? That's the issue, and it's really it's almost a mechanical question as much as anything else. But we're going to have a good program. I'm encouraged.
Thank you. Thank you all. Alcohol aid, please.
Cool. Alcohol aid, please. I like it more than you do.
He likes it more than I do.
Yeah, oh, all right, rolling, good. Sure.
Are you rolling? You got good sound and everything. Do you remember us? We did an interview with you when you got your Eagle Award a couple of years ago.
Yes, I have been here to Washington several times, and of course, this particular function is the Cardinal fan club here, and we come here a couple of times a year and meet with our fan clubs. They're great fans here, and it's nice to come back to Washington. And of course, it's always a pleasure and honor to come to the White House and visit with the President, and we enjoy that.
What was your visit about today? What did you talk about?
Well, the President said he was a great baseball fan, great Cardinal fan. You know, when he was younger, he listened to all the Cardinal games down in Arkansas. You know, and KMX was a great station to cover that part of the country. So we talked a little about baseball, and I give him one of my bets.
How about those Cardinals this year? What do you think? What's your
Well, you know, we have a good club. We can compete in our division, you know, and we're in second place, and it's going to be an interesting race. So the Cardinals, we can hold our own.
Ernie Harwell was here the other night. We've got Harry Carey coming for this program at the Smithsonian Voices of the Game, Legends of the Game.
Yes.
You're a legend. What's it feel like to be a legend? Do you think you'd be a legend when you were growing up?
Well, no, you know, we just, I wanted to be a big league ball player, enjoyed playing big league baseball, you know. You never think about what records or other things that you might set as you're growing and playing, but Harry Carey has been a great Cardinal announcer for 25 years. He did a great job for the Cardinals, and he's just a great announcer. Of course, I see Ernie Harwell once in a while. I see he's back again.
Right. What do you think of Ernie? Has he interviewed you, and what kind of an interviewer is he?
Well, I didn't spend too much time with Ernie. He was in the American League, mostly in Detroit, so I didn't see him that often.
Any thoughts about fans of today versus the fans of the old days? Are the fans today any different?
Fans are different in different parts of the country. You know, they're very rapid, like in Philadelphia and Brooklyn. They were very rapid, whereas fans in St. Louis, Chicago, they're more reserved and quieter. And of course, the New York fans, they appreciated good effort, and they were great fans. So fans are different throughout different parts of the country.
Is there a typical St. Louis fan?
St. Louis fan was is a casual. What I'm trying to say was didn't get too excited back in our days. He was quieter.
They're a little more rambunctious.
Reserved.
Was it a more boisterous bunch these days?
I think so. I think in all sports, in all fashions of life, I think everybody there, it's different. Yeah, the fans speak out and say what they please, and they're a little more rambunctious these days.
Okay. Anything I'm missing about your White House visit that's important for the folks in St. Louis?
Well, we had a nice visit. The president said he's been to St. Louis several times, likes St. Louis, and likes baseball. So one of these days you come out and throw out the first pitch.
Okay, great. Thank you very much. You know, you're on a tight schedule.
We're going to go this way now.
Yes, he was. And I kissed him, and the lipstick was on his cheek, and oh, I thought. Yeah, right.
Okay, that was fun. Now tell us what you think.
Oh, wonderful. Oh, I haven't come back to the surface yet. Oh, I'm just so proud and so privileged to be given the chance to meet the president.
Okay. How important do you think it is?
Okay. What was that happening at the end?
Yeah, thank you. Pardon? Oh, yeah. Well, I'll ask her about that. Tell me your impression. What did you think of that little White House ceremony?
Oh, it was wonderful. Everyone was so nice. President Clinton was just so warm and so receptive to what I had to say, and he even took a button, friends of Shannon's. So,
FOS,
hey.
right? Explain the button and the significance.
Well, the button, I had a panel for the Easter Seals Goodwill Telethon in March 6th. It was March 6th and 7th of this year. And I had like 8 people that I had chosen to raise money. And we raised $6,500, and my panel was called Friends of Shannon. So I've been passing those out, you know.
And the president took one. What did he say to you?
Like, you know, I got the idea from Friends of Bill, Friends of Shannon, you know. I got that idea from him. What did he say to me? He said he was really proud.
What do you feel right now after starting to slow down a little bit?
Oh, I am just I'm in awe. You know, the President of the United States and myself holding hands, hugging, you know, hey.
Just a little kiss. What did he say to you? What did you whisper in your ear?
You're not going to tell him, are you?
Heck no! I kissed him, though, on the cheek.
Okay. Tell us what, yeah, okay. Get on the other side. Okay. Your thoughts about this?
Well, first of all, what Shannon has been able to prove is that miracles happen. And Shannon was critically injured and came back and is a productive, tax-paying citizen of the United States, which just shows you that anybody can challenge and achieve any problem. Shannon had the quality health care, which is what we're working on.
Yes.
We talked about that with the president. It's part of his health care plan. Shannon had the opportunity to work with an agency that provided her gainful employment, the jobs bill again. So we were able to take an example of what he's talking about in his program, which is health care and jobs. And it's right here at Shannon.
And by the way, I work at Koch Industries. That is a wonderful company, and I just feel privileged to work there. And I feel worthwhile.
We both used to work at Channel 12 here. Ready? Can you tell us how proud or whatever your feelings here after the road you've been down?
Well, this has been fantastic to watch Shannon go out of a coma and get her medical rehabilitation at St. Joseph Hospital. It did a wonderful thing. But to be there, to have the opportunity and be able to provide her the vocational training that she needed and the support that she needed from a local agency like Goodwill Industries Easter Seal really made her have the strength to make that first step to make that job at Koch Industries a success. And we're really proud to be a part of it. She's representing all of the people with disabilities in the United States, and we're very, very proud of her.
This was a people project. The people of Wichita participated and contributed through Goodwill.
It was, well, it's a people project. It was the training that we had provided for her from Goodwill Industries that was able to help her with a job coach on the spot at Koch in order for her to succeed at her job. And now we feel like she is just a real success, and we're very, very proud of her.
Tremendous. So we have it on tape. You know, don't let him call you name, rank, serial number.
I'm Marie Marda, the president at Goodwill Industries Easter Seal in Wichita. M-A-R-E-D-A, Marda.
Can you tell us your thoughts?
I'm just so proud of my daughter, Shannon. She's just on such a high right now. She can't hardly think straight. She's come such a long way, and she's had a great deal of rehabilitation, and then Goodwill has just stepped in and just made it wonderful for her. Now she's a valued employee at Koch Industries in Wichita, Kansas, and I'm just real proud of her. I'm so nervous right now after meeting the president that I can't hardly think either. But she's a miracle walking.
Explain that experience for me, standing next to the president and talking to him.
Oh, it was just, I'm a real Clinton fan. Always have been, and it was just real humbling standing beside him.
All right, my name is Faye Lyle. I'm director.
Can I interrupt for just a second because I got to go to another appointment. I just wanted to say goodbye.
Oh,
nice to see you, and I'm very glad you came. And I hope you had a good time.
Wonderful time.
Beverly asked me to tell you goodbye. I don't get to see you in Texas. I do get to see her in Texas.
Oh, I'm going to be there.
Okay,
we'll meet
see you
again.
down there. Bye-bye.
Thank you. I'm Faye Lyle. I'm the Director of Rehabilitation Inpatient Services. Okay. Oh, okay.
Okay.
I'm Faye Lyle. I'm the Director of Rehabilitation Services at St. Joseph Medical Center in Wichita, Kansas.
Can you tell us a little bit about Shannon's journey from the coma
Certainly.
to the side of the president?
Certainly.
Describing her journey from a coma to now standing beside the president.
Long, long road. I tell you, she truly is a walking miracle. She was in a coma for 2 months, and the prognosis is not good at all for that. She really shouldn't be walking and talking and thinking and rationalizing like she is. I was one of many in January of 1985 at St. Joseph Medical Center on the rehabilitation team. And when she came to us, we couldn't even make eye contact with her. She was in a semi-coma. And we worked very hard with her. But like I say, it's a team. And there are occupational therapists, physical therapists, physiatrists, of course the rehab nurses, and many, many people that worked with her to help her with her balance, her walking, her motor skills, her cognitive skills. And like I say, we were one of many. Part of that team are the resources in the community. And certainly part of that team is the support that she received from her family. I can't tell you how important that is, that support is there. And to actualize what she could be and to have Goodwill help her through that road of recovery. They were part of the team also. We consider them part of the team. And they just made it all possible. And now she's working at Coke Industries in Wichita, Kansas, and we're so very proud of her. But really, the outcome is marvelous. It's a miracle.
Well, I didn't get you either. Okay, you're welcome. Nice to see you. Bye.
Oh,
We'll see you.
and thank Carol.
Okay.
Oh,
Yeah, actually,
God.
Carol did it.
Yeah, I know.
Carol, the secretary. Yeah. Okay, goodbye. Nice to see you. Okay, all right. Okay,
Sure.
bye. I'll see you all later. Bye.
You know, it'd be nice if I had her behind me when I did that. Mike? Okay, then I'll read the list. That's not what I had wanted. I shot it. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Well, I had to change my script then, wouldn't I? You're not with the NBC crews that are doing a day in the life. Can't do it that way because of the lighting. I have to face this way. Five, 4, 3, 2, 1. It has been a long road from an unresponsive coma to a conversation with the president. And here at the White House, they refer to Shannon Marie Hilbert as a walking miracle. Julia Rockler, Eyewitness News, Washington.
Today when she had a private Oval Office meeting with the president. Many of you met Shannon Hilbert during the Goodwill Easter Seals telethon on Channel 12 this spring. Shannon's an example of someone who overcame a traumatic brain injury and today is back in the workforce. Shannon is being honored as Goodwill's National Graduate of the Year, and a trip to Washington is part of her award. President Clinton called her a very brave person for making the progress she has. Others call her a walking miracle. You can hear more about Shannon's White House visit tomorrow on Eyewitness News.
Very good.
It's an exciting place to be yesterday for a Wichita woman.
Nearly 9 years ago, Shannon Hilbert suffered serious injuries in a car accident and was in a coma for 2 months. Yesterday, the president honored her as Goodwill Industries National Graduate of the Year. Julia Rockwood was there.
Toward the White House, Shannon Hilbert was thinking it couldn't be happening to her. She was headed for a private meeting in the Oval Office.
And your congressman,
It's an honor reserved for astronauts, Nobel Prize winners, and the like. Today, Bill Clinton was honoring her as Goodwill Industries Graduate of the Year.
This young woman was severely injured and was in a coma for a long time. And, you know, a lot of people would not have done what she has done. She is a very brave person. She's come back and had a great life. And I want to thank all the people who helped you and congratulate you.
Well, you're a friend.
Okay, I'm an SOS, see?
It was a moment she will never forget.
My name's Catherine. Oh.
She was working.
America's best-known residence, the home to presidents and their families, the nerve center of the American political system. Good evening, and welcome to the White House. 100 days and 1 week into the presidency of Bill Clinton. Actually, this is Thursday morning, May 6th. The Clinton presidency is unique. Bill Clinton, after all, is the first president born after World War II. And on this day, he faces his own war, new challenges in Bosnia. He faces as well a struggling American economy. You'll be at the president's side as he makes the tough decisions throughout this day. We'll also see Hillary Clinton in her unique role, and I'll be talking to the Clintons as the day moves along. I'll also be talking with other key White House aides, and many of them are very young. Throughout the day, we'll show you the other side of life here at America's house, the familiar rituals, and the new gadgets this new generation brings to power. A day at the White House, May 6, 1993. President Clinton, elected to fix the American economy, this morning faces the prospect of sending American forces into harm's way. Bosnia. The UN peace plan was rejected overnight. The president summons his national security staff. Outside the Oval Office, appointments are delayed. Chief of Staff McClarty checks the mood of Capitol Hill with Congressional Liaison Howard Pastor. Director of Communications George Stephanopoulos monitors the morning news.
And good morning. Welcome to today on this Thursday morning. The news from Boston is not good.
Press Secretary D.D. Myers gets the first words out.
As you know, the president said he's committed to further action to end the bloodshed, to stop the Bosnian Serb campaign of ethnic cleansing. He's still on that track.
Mr. President.
Sorry, we got a little...
No, I appreciate it. This is a very busy day for you. And,
Thanks.
There are no rules for days like today.
No rules. How you doing?
Fine. How are you doing?
Good.
You found out about the Bosnian rejection last night before you went to bed?
Yeah, I stayed up until I found out.
But there are no easy lines here, militarily, diplomatically, culturally.
This is a war with enormous potential to spread to other countries and complicate the lives of the United States and the Western allies. The explosive potential there is enormous. So you've got ethnic cleansing, you've got a civil war, you've got an invasion. It is a very difficult set of circumstances.
I think you get somebody who wants to get you out the door here. We want to keep you on Clinton time.
And then when I come back normally, I didn't do it today.
The president is already late for a speech. It looks like the crisis in Bosnia will have the White House scrambling all day. The management of your time, is it greater than you expected that it would be before you got here? There's just so many things that come through the White House.
Well, and there are a lot of things that are part of the job of being president that only the president can do, especially in the foreign affairs area.
Back at the White House, National Security Advisor Tony Lake meets with Defense Secretary Les Aspin and Joint Chiefs Chairman Colin Powell. The president adds Bosnia to his speech on trade.
I hope you will understand if I ask for a few moments to address the situation in Bosnia first.
National Security Advisor Tony Lake gives his first television interview since taking office. Is military action of some kind by the United States now unavoidable in your judgment?
No, I don't think it's unavoidable. The best solution would be that the possibility of stronger actions can still lead to some sort of diplomatic solution to the thing. But clearly, we're at the point at which we have to consider stronger actions.
And what is the end game for the United States in Bosnia in terms of some kind of even allied military effort?
Well, any end game has to involve multilateral effort, one way or the other. This is a problem in Europe that will help decide the future of Europe.
Hello? General?
The president calls General Powell and Secretary Aspin to the Oval Office. Even with Bosnia hovering, they find time to laugh.
I didn't leave you. I lost you. I couldn't find you. Listen, you find you. Be there. President, look at you. What did we do? Come on, we didn't do anything.
But the military role of the president is never out of sight at the White House.
Probably should say that.
Vice President Gore, more experience in foreign affairs. He meets with the president in the Oval Office. We've been grilling the vice president a little bit, and he's been very forthcoming about the relationship, and he's very happy with it. I mean, is something like Bosnia an area in which you really count on this council, having served where he has in the Senate and so on?
A lot. We talk a lot about it, and when I read things or hear arguments that are critical of our position, for example, that I think are persuasive, I send them to him and I say, okay, what's our answer to this? We got to have an answer to this. But we debate and talk about this a lot, and we start every day together in our national security meeting, and oftentimes I just also call him and ask him, what he thinks about this, that, or the other thing.
And do you offer advice voluntarily, or do you wait for him to ask for it? How does it work?
It depends on whether the cameras are rolling or not.
And John Wayne had a card like this in his pocket.
National Security Advisor Lake takes a break from Bosnia to meet a childhood hero, Stan the Man Musial of the Cardinals.
It's been a great day. The hell with Bosnia.
The president started his day with Bosnia, and he ends it in the Oval Office, still working on the problem. She's all business at a power breakfast with senators. Hillary Rodham Clinton's assignment to reform health care takes the role of a first lady to a new, and for some, controversial level in presidential politics.
The stakes in this health care reform are high for all Americans, but they are particularly high for older Americans. And we can do a much better job and save money at the same time, and that's what we intend to do.
Next, onto a closed-door meeting. Again, the subject is health care. She gets high marks from many, including Senator Paul Sarbanes.
She's doing health care. We're gonna have a wonderful health care program in this country because of Mrs. Clinton.
Young people are the special interest of Mrs. Clinton, but it's time to move on. The fast pace continues. Back to the White House. There, the staff has been primping and polishing for her luncheon with the president and Republican lawmakers.
These are the floral arrangements that are going to be used today at the luncheon.
The menu, low-fat fare, and health care. apologies for their political partnership. How many times during the day do you get a chance to just talk to each other?
In the morning and in the evening, and usually once or twice in between.
And do you talk on the phone a lot during the day?
A couple of times a day.
Yeah.
We'll not schedule. She'll just pick up the phone and call me, or I pick up the phone and call.
Here has, to the extent that she thought appropriate, supported her husband, taken care of her family, and done what she wanted to do to make a contribution to the country. And what I'm hoping is that I'm able to make my contribution, and then any spouse after me, women and men, will feel as free as they can to do what is right for them, and that includes as little or as much of a role as is appropriate.
How long do you think it'll be, Mr. President, before there's a first husband?
Not long. Not long. I think there'll be a woman will be elected president probably in my lifetime. I hope that one will have a chance to run. I think that, people are in this country are increasingly moving to the position that everybody ought to be able to fulfill their abilities. There might even be less controversy in that than the partnership that Hillary and I have established. Some people have said, well, should a first lady do this? My view is my duty to the American people is to use all the people I can find to use to help advance the public interest. And I think the fact that we're doing this health care thing together and that she's taken the lead on it is a good thing for the American people.
Are there sometimes on Saturday or Sundays when you just look at each other, we're just exhausted, though?
Oh.
I mean,
The question is there ever a Saturday or Sunday when we don't say that to each other?
Yeah, we do.
Sure, but, we signed on for the whole load, and we like it, we believe in it, and we're very upbeat about our prospects to help change the country.
And we do just sort of hang out doing nothing.
She's finally convinced me we should do nothing. I used to have to do something all the time. If I wasn't working, I had to be reading or doing something. Now I'm cultivating the art of doing nothing a little more with Hillary and Chelsea.
And is she keeping you on time, too?
Yeah, better. Although I sometimes help keep her on time.
The First Lady's many responsibilities and influence have given her power to rival that of the Vice President. The conventional wisdom in Washington is the President's the most powerful member of this administration. Mrs. Clinton is the second most powerful, and you're in third place.
Well, she is a very capable advisor to the President, and her voice is very respected, not only by the President, by everybody in the administration, including me.
Hi, it's Beth Pritchard with the VP. I'm opening up his office. Thank you.
Have you been satisfied that you've been in on the important decisions in a major way up to this point?
I couldn't possibly be more satisfied. He's been extremely generous in asking me for advice and participation when issues come before him, and we work together extremely well, very closely.
Informally during the course of the day, I know that you meet in the morning, and then, in the past there have always been rituals. The President will have a luncheon with his Vice President or something like that. Does it work that way for the two of you?
Both. We try to set up a weekly luncheon, and we start every day together with the security briefing. So we normally spend about half an hour every morning talking about the national security issues.
Although Al Gore is taken much more seriously than his predecessors, he cannot completely escape being the target of comics. Were you prepared for all that, the make fun of Al Gore jokes?
Oh, I thought that was not entirely new. That line about when I ran in '88, the classic line was, how do you tell Al Gore from a room full of Secret Service agents? And the answer is, he's the stiff one. So
This is one of the few occupants of the White House not caught up in the power game. Chelsea's cat, Socks. But then Socks has nothing to worry about. Everyone in the White House knows she's the top cat.
I'll have a statement later today.
The Clinton White House is long on energy and short on formality.
He was my neighbor. Everybody in my state loves Truman. Is that right? Not everybody, but most. We really like him.
These are new members of Congress the President is courting.
I brought this picture here which has been in the White House a long time, Shield Hassan, but it had never been in the Oval Office. It's a wonderful picture of New York City in the rain on Flag Day during World War I.
And getting this president moving is...
Probably get 1,000 letters a week just requesting meetings with the president, and obviously we can't fulfill those. He has 8 to 10 meetings a day, so that's about it.
Can you ever have enough good help in the White House, though? Is that one of the things that you find, that there's always something for somebody to do?
Mm-hmm. You have to know what to do and what not to do, what to let the departments do. You know, I'm not interested in micromanaging this government. It just takes more time in the beginning.
Some people say you spread yourself out over too many issues and you wait until the last dog is on your team before you'll leave a room. Are these two guys going to have to move you along a little bit?
Well, I don't think you can make that case in the case of our economic program. We came out with it early. It was hard-hitting. It's very comprehensive. And it certainly has a lot of challenging things in it. A lot of unpopular budget cuts, unpopular tax increases, things that have to be done, in my opinion, to turn this country around.
I'm Beth Pritchard. I'm 27 years old, and I voted in my first presidential election in 1988.
My first presidential election I voted in was Michael Dukakis. I'm 24 years old.
Bill Clinton is sometimes called the first MTV president, and his White House staff reflects that. There are so many young people running around, the White House grounds resemble a campus.
My name's Chad Griffin. I'm 19 years old, the youngest member of the White House staff.
The president's administrative assistant, Andy Friendly, looks like he should be carded as he sits just outside the Oval Office at the right hand of power. How old are you?
24.
What do you want to be when you grow up?
I told one person that I'm only 24 and it's all downhill from here. I don't know what I can do after this to top it. But it's been, I'm going to see a lot of thinking. I'm going to take a long rest after this. And we're probably going to be only about 5 minutes late leaving here.
Friendly has learned to be, well, tactful about his boss's tardiness.
Well, as you know, President Clinton has his own set of time, and we usually are not much more than about 5 or 10 minutes late, sometimes up to 20 minutes late.
Many in Washington think the White House has too many young people. White House Chief of Staff Thomas Mac McClarty, one of the president's oldest friends. Some people think that you should have a few more graybeards around the White House.
Well, first of all, I've been, I think, pleased that I'm not viewed as a graybeard.
Right.
As I move into my middle years, that was kind of refreshing and reassuring.
You've known Bill Clinton since you were in kindergarten together.
That's correct.
At the end of the day, does that sometimes occur to you when you're meeting in the Oval Office with him? My God, this is my friend from kindergarten.
It does. It certainly occurred as you would expect it to in the early tenure, the early going, really the first day or two. But the relationship occurs to you and the ease of it, which has actually been strengthened just because of the frequency of seeing each other. And I can truthfully say we've not had a cross words. Not always have agreed, but not a cross word.
I'm the secretary to the cabinet. They see me on television. He is not available right now.
The Clinton administration said it wanted to look like America, and that means more women in senior positions, many more than in previous administrations. Carol Rasko, who worked for Governor Clinton, now runs White House domestic policy, and she's an old friend of Hillary Rodham Clinton.
I met her really and got to know her before I got to know him. We worked in child and family advocacy issues together. We had our children about the same time, and we've been good friends as mothers. And we've had a lot of discussions outside work about our concerns about families.
Bob Rubin was a major player on Wall Street. Now he's in charge of Clinton's economic policy, which includes new taxes for the rich. A lot of your friends on Wall Street, you included, made a lot of money in the 1980s. The president said it's time to pay the piper.
All 4 oval rooms are approximately the same size. Now, the blue room is considered to be the most formal room in the White House. This room is used to greet visiting heads of state and for official receiving lines.
Staying in touch with people is a daily goal of this White House.
And it's really like President Clinton said, it's our house, not just his house.
Shaping the message Bill Clinton wants to send them each day begins in the middle of the night.
We tend to concentrate on the economy.
6:35 a.m. The news summary delivered to Communications Director George Stephanopoulos.
We probably had a little bit of bad luck in that
some of the low spots of our first 100 days came right at the end. But, you know, some of the criticism was fair. We made mistakes. There's no question about that. At the same time, I think we accomplished an awful lot. Maybe you can say some of it was due to newness or a touch of, you know, the arrogance of being new, but I think that most of it was a result of circumstance at times, and we couldn't avoid a lot of the problems the president had to deal with.
There's a word called hubris.
Sure is, Greek word.
It certainly is. Do you have some kind of mechanism around here to make sure that it doesn't spill out?
Yeah, you lose. And that's what we did. And so now we got to fight back. And that is the surest cure for hubris. And I think a lot of us have learned a lot of lessons in the first 100 days.
LA Times editorial on the move says if the president can shake things up so that his goals in fact become more focused, his will be a stronger, more effective administration.
Dee Myers will brief in 2 minutes.
Leaders either by telephone or with visits in person to get them to renew the force option?
First of all, I disagree with your premise. I don't think he's gotten a totally cool reception. I think the fact that the so-called Bosnian Serb Assembly schizophrenic life around here. Yeah, I think that there's a certain dynamic that exists, and the first thing you learn when you get here is never take any of it personally.
I think that they thought that they could focus, as the president said, like a laser beam on the economy. And instead, week one, it was gays in the military. Then there were the distractions of trying to find an attorney general nominee.
But Didi, he said that any further action would require a UN resolution. Anything that you
No, he didn't. That's not what he said.
Yes, he did.
No, he didn't.
There really was no honeymoon between this administration and the media. No attempt by this remarkably personable president to schmooze or buddy it with reporters.
We're not trying to go around them. I think our take on all of this is that the world is changing.
This is what Dee Myers is talking about. In the executive office building across from the White House, the computer whiz kids, using the new technology to speed the president's message across the nation.
It's pretty much my life.
I just published George Stephanopoulos' briefing, and that will literally be worldwide within less than 48 hours. 10 years ago, nobody had fax numbers on their business cards. 10 years from now, if you don't have an electronic mail address on your business card, you'll be what I call information impaired. If you don't have interactive communications, as we are having right here, there is no such thing as community.
Jeff Eller, at 37, runs the electronic war room.
The computer and the telephone and the television are all moving on the same road to a point where they'll come together somewhere down the road. But I don't know how long that's going to be, but we want to be able to make sure that if people want information about their government and about what the president and the administration is doing, that we can deliver it to them in the form that they want it.
White House comment line, may I help you?
Old-fashioned telephones still are in place for public comments, which never stop.
So I started with Mr. Nixon when there were 2 telephones. And now, as you can see, we have, I don't know, 20, 25, and the phones never stop ringing.
And Hillary. And talk about a generational difference from electronic mail to actual letters. The whiz kids call this snail mail, but lots of it. More than 2.5 million pieces of mail in the first quarter of '93. That's more than all of last year.
It's a national opinion survey on protecting Social Security, and they send $2 in for print costs.
I'm here to make sure that his message is still getting out, that it's answering letters and sending them to people so that we can continue to stay in touch.
All right, we're good to go.
Okay.
Upstairs, the Clinton administration avoids the networks by transmitting directly to local stations. National Service Director Eli Siegel on WCMH, Columbus, Ohio.
There will be a wide variety of activities that should be improving life in the communities in Delaware and in Columbus as well, primarily for young people at risk.
Meeting from the White House, where the president has been working on the new Bosnia crisis since late last night, when the Serbian parliament in Bosnia... In the evening, George Stephanopoulos is scanning the airwaves to see how the president's day played out.
People are tuned in. They're watching. They want to be involved. Now, part of the price of that scrutiny is that when you mess up, people know it right away.
You spent time in this town on Capitol Hill, but were you prepared for the impact of every utterance that you make either at that White House press room, podium, or almost anywhere else.
More worried about the ones they make off it.
But in fairness, were you prepared for that, the kind of ripple effect, and it would ricochet around the world very quickly? Anything you say.
It's impossible. You can't be. I mean, you just can't. I mean, I remember very well the morning after the election, we had our first press conference, and you get up there, and there's 100 reporters there, and you're scared. Over time, you get a little more used to it.
You've gotten over being scared.
You get a little butterflies, but I'm not as scared as I used to be.
Do you ever sit back and say, God, what do I do for the rest of my life? What's my second and third act if this is my first act?
Mostly what you say is, I just can't believe I'm here. This is great. I mean, it's just such a privilege. And let the rest take care of itself, because it will. Everybody you talk to, I mean, I've talked to a lot of people who worked in the White House before, and to a person, they all take you aside in a very confidential tone and say, whatever you do, enjoy it, pay attention, know how special it is, and know that it's going to go away. And if you remember that, you're going to be okay. And just about every day, you take a second and just look around and go, phew, it's unbelievable.
Administration to administration is this ritual, the photo op. The president with everyone from heads of state to small-town officials, to his own hero, Baseball Hall of Fame's Stan Musial.
His lifetime average was 1 in 3. Remember that, right?
And then there was the healthcare president, welcoming Shannon Marie Hilbert.
This young woman was severely injured and was in a coma for a long time.
She is Graduate of the Year for Goodwill Industries. The Commander-in-Chief, Bill Clinton, welcoming the seniors from the Air Force Academy football team.
The coach instills the values of discipline, teamwork, and faith that produce success on the gridiron and in life.
This photo op had extra meaning on a day when the president was considering the prospect of sending American airmen into the Bosnia conflict. It must have crossed the minds of these young men, and I wondered about the president. When you looked into the faces of those young Air Force cadets, did it pass through your mind at all that young men not a lot older than they are may have to go in warplanes into hostile skies over Bosnia, and did that give you some pause as the Commander-in-Chief?
Sure. I think the president should not put the lives of young Americans in harm's way unless there is a clear national interest and or a firm national commitment under treaty or law. Americans are very generous about putting their treasure and their lives on the line around the world, but we have to be disciplined and very careful where we do it. In the end, this administration has got to take care of the problems of America at home, but no president of the United States after the Cold War can simply walk away from the problems that are gripping the world. You just don't have that option.
But is Bosnia also a reminder to you of the constant conflict between the moral imperative and the limits of political power?
Absolutely. It's in our interest to have a more peaceful world, to stop a widening conflict, to try to save people from the savage fate of ethnic cleansing, but there are limits to what we can do.
We still have health reform coming on your calendar in the short term. Senator Dole told us that we shouldn't expect to see passage of it in 1993, but 1994 is much more likely. Do you agree with that?
We should act on it this year. This task force that Hillary has headed has had 400 people from all walks of the healthcare life in all aspects of it. We have rigorously consulted exhaustively with Democrats and Republicans, with healthcare providers and healthcare consumers. And when we come out with our plan, we are doing it at a time when it is at least possible for us to act on it in 1993. In 1994, I'd like for the American people to have the security of knowing that even if someone in their family's been sick, they can change jobs without losing their health insurance. I'd like for the American people to know that they're not going to lose health care coverage if the company they work for goes bankrupt. I'd like for the American people to know that we're not going to allow health care costs to keep going up at twice the rate of inflation and consuming all the wage gains that they could otherwise make. I'd like for American business to know that if we bring health care costs in line with inflation, they'll have tens of billions of more dollars to reinvest in jobs and growth. those are my dreams, and I think the quicker we get on with it, the better off it's going to be. We know there are some tough decisions, and we know we're going to have to phase it in. We're going to have to be very careful. We can't take away from people what they have now, but the more we delay starting it, the more costs are going to pile up, and
military.
I think that's probably wrong. I mean, you'd have to ask him or somebody who's a reliable source, but we spend a lot of time together. I just was with him before I came down to see you, reviewing notes on Bosnia. I have enormous regard for him. I trust his judgment. And I think it's fair to say that he and the other members of the Joint Chiefs have been extremely constructive and supportive in every way. Again, I don't ask them or anybody else to agree with me on everything. I'm not right about everything. I don't mind having a little debate. Where I have to play my role as commander-in-chief, and when I make a decision and they have to follow it, I don't have a question in my mind that they will do their constitutional duty willingly and to the best of their ability. But I think, you know, I think I have had a very constructive relationship with Colin Powell. It's actually been, you know, better even than I could have anticipated. More time, more honesty, more openness. And I think we both enjoyed it quite a lot, maybe even to our mutual surprise. I think we've enjoyed it quite a lot. I know I've enjoyed him, and I honor his service very much.
And are you going to have to step on some more toes to get done what you need to?
Probably from time to time. But remember the lesson, even in Eastern Europe, when the Berlin Wall fell and communism fell away from all those governments. In the world we're living in today, the kind of leadership ultimately that prevails is that which has the support of the people and builds on bringing people together. It is very hard in a democracy to govern except by consent and by agreement. Once in a while, you can put the arm on somebody and get something done. But the capacity of any elected leader to do that is vastly overrated. The American presidents who have prevailed over the long run have been tough when they had to be, but in the end they did it because the people were with them and the other people who worked with them knew it.
You have lived in the public arena for most of your adult life as the governor of Arkansas, a nationally known politician. But were you prepared for the fishbowl existence of living at the White House and being the President of the United States with every utterance, every body move examined and interpreted?
I'm not sure that I was entirely prepared for it. I think I was a little bit, but the extent to which the president's every word has the capacity to wound or to uplift, the extent to which every offhand remark can be interpreted or misinterpreted, the extent to which even your body language can send out signals which are significant in their impact, and the extent to which you simply have no privacy at all except when you're on the second floor of the White House, and even there it's, you know, somewhat limited with all the folks kind of coming back and forth. I don't think I was entirely prepared for it. I've always been a curiously private person, as has my wife, as is my daughter, and that's been a little bit of a problem. I mean, I think, you know, on the balance, we've enjoyed living in the White House and we've had a good life here, and it's getting better, but it's taken some adjustment.
On the Sunday before you were sworn in, you told me that you were looking forward to having movies in the White House and maybe going bowling. Have you had time for either one?
I've done a little bowling, and interestingly enough, the guy that ran my bowling lane in Hot Springs, Arkansas, where I bowled as a child, sent me a bowling ball. I'm tickled. Hey, we're redoing the bowling alley. It hadn't been redone since Mr. Nixon was here. So I have done a little of that, but I have watched a ton of movies. I plead guilty. That's my indulgence. On Friday night, very often we'll work till 7 or 7:30 and then just gather up a bunch of folks that are here or people that are in town and go watch a movie in the White House Theater. There's a, as you know, your viewers probably don't, there's a 50-seat theater in the White House, and they send me in 2 or 3 first-run movies all the time, and I can order others out with a little notice, and I have watched a lot of movies, and I've loved it very much.
Mr. President, do you have time to really reflect about what you want to have for a vision of America, not just in your term, but what you want to set in motion for the rest of this century? Because your day is eaten up by all these understandable demands on your time.
The only thing I think that could really disappoint me in this presidency is not that I wouldn't win all my battles. I never expected to win them all, and certainly not all of them in a day or a month or a year. But if somehow just the sheer bulk of the job took me away from the dreams that brought me here, because that's what the American people, I think, want their president to do, to keep them in mind and to keep pursuing their dreams.